Listen, you who transformed your anguish into healthy awareness, put your voice where your memory is. You who swallowed the afternoon dust, defend everything you understand with words. You, if no one else, will condemn with your tongue the erosion each disappointment brings. You, who saw the images of disgust growing, will understand how time devours the destitute. You, who gave yourself your own commandments, know better than anyone why you turned your back on your town's toughest limits. Don't hush. Don't throw away the most persistent truth, as our hard-headed brethren sometimes do. Remember well what your life was like. Cloudiness, slick mud after a drizzle, flimsy windows the wind kept rattling in winter, and that unheated slab dwelling where coldness crawled up in your clothes. Tell how you were able to come to this point, to unbar history's doors, to see your early years, your people, the others. Name the way rebellion's calm spirit has served you, and how you came to unlearn the lessons of that teacher, your land's omnipotent defiler. Remember how, from the first emptiness, you started saving yourself. And ask yourself what, after all, these words are good for in this round hour now, where your voice strikes time. Once, the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began a small rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head, and once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out the light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the dark, and now we had no place to live, since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then, one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A Wind Clan person climbed out first into the next world. Then the other clans, the children of those clans, their children and their children, all the way through time to now, into this morning light, to you. Is there a solitary wretch who hies to the tall cliff with starting pace or slow and measuring views with wild and hollow eyes its distance from the waves that chide below, who, as a sea-born gale with frequent sighs, chills his cold bed upon the mountain turf, with hoarse, half-uttered lamentation lies murmuring responses to the dashing surf? In moody sadness, on the giddy brink, I see him more with envy than with fear. He has no nice felicities that shrink from giant horrors. Wildly wandering here, he seems, uncursed with reason, not to know the depth or the duration of his woe.
I heard a fly buzz when I died. The stillness in the room was like the stillness in the air between the heaves of storm. The eyes around had wrung them dry, and breaths were gathering firm for that last onset when the king be witnessed in the room. I willed my keepsakes, signed away what portion of me be assignable, and then it was there, interposed, a fly with blue, uncertain, stumbling buzz between the light and me. And then the windows failed. And then I could not see to see. Thinking of Caroline Herschel, 1750 to 1848, astronomer, sister of William, and others. A woman in the shape of a monster in the shape of a woman. The skies are full of them. A woman in the snow among the clocks and instruments, or measuring the ground with poles, in her 98 years to discover 8 comets. She whom the moon ruled like us, levitating into the night sky, riding the polished lenses. Galaxies of women, there doing penance for impetuousness, ribs chilled in those spaces of the mind. And I, virile, precise, and absolutely certain from the mad webs of Uranusborg, encountering the nova. Every impulse of light exploding from the core as life flies out of us. Tycho whispering at last, "Let me not seem to have lived in vain." What we see, and seeing is changing. The light that shrivels a mountain and leaves a man alive. Heartbeat of the pulsar heart sweating through my body. The radio impulse pouring in from Taurus. I am bombarded, yet I stand. I have been standing all my life in the direct path of a battery of signals. The most accurately transmitted, most untranslatable language in the universe. I am a galactic cloud, so deep, so involuted that a light wave could take 15 years to travel through me, and has taken. I am an instrument in the shape of a woman, trying to translate pulsations into images for the relief of the body and the reconstruction of the mind.
About the dead, having available to them all breeds of knowledge, some pure, others wicked, especially what is future, and the history that remains once the waters recede, revealing the land that couldn't reject or contain it. And the land that is not new, is indigo, is ancient. Lived as all the trees that fit and clothe it are lived, simple pine, oak, grand magnolia. He said they frighten him, that what they hold in their silences. Silences. Sometimes a boy will slip from his climbing, drown, but the myth knows why. Sometimes a boy will swing with the leaves.
I'll choose for myself next time who I'll reach out and take as mine, in the way I might stand at a fruit stall, having decided to ignore the apples, the mangoes, and the kiwis, but hold my hands above a pile of oranges, as if to warm my skin before a fire. Not only have I chosen oranges, but I'll also choose which orange. I'll test a few for firmness, scrape some rind off with my fingernail so that a citrus scent will linger there all day. I won't be happy with the first one I pick, but we'll try different ones until I know you. How will I know you? You'll feel warm between my palms, and I'll cup you like a handful of holy water. A vision will come to me of your exotic land, the sun you swelled under, the tree you grew from. A drift of white blossoms from the orange tree will settle in my hair, and I'll know. This is how I will choose you, by feeling you, smelling you, by slipping you into my coat. Maybe then I'll climb the hill, look down on the town we live in with sunlight on my face and a miniature sun burning a hole in my pocket. Thirsty, I'll suck the juice from it. From you. When I walk away, I'll leave behind a trail of lamp-bright rind.
A boat beneath a sunny sky, lingering onward dreamily in an evening of July. Children three that nestle near, eager eye and willing ear, pleased a simple tale to hear. Long has paled that sunny sky, echoes fade and memories die. Autumn frosts have slain July. Still she haunts me, phantom-wise, Alice moving under skies, never seen by waking eyes. Children yet the tale to hear, eager eye and willing ear, lovingly shall nestle near. In a wonderland they lie, dreaming as the days go by, dreaming as the summers die. ever drifting down the stream, lingering in that golden gleam. Life, what is it but a dream?
No one would burn your name for not seeing the ants, careful antennae testing the air next to your shoe. 6 legs almost rowing it along. Who would be upset if you brushed one offhandedly off your arm, undone by the tiny steps? What do they want? You ask, unaware that they breathe through their sides. Do they sleep? Do they dream? Anything? No one should mark your soul short if you mash one. When 2 ants meet, there's no tongue for hello. It's a bug, a nearly less than little thing. At most, made to chisel crumbs under the fridge, with eyes that, even in brightest day, see not reds or greens, but gray, and gray again. Who would curse your life if you bring out the raid? How many books have they read? That brain, a virtual speck. Is all they carry really work? Or just some dumb old daily ado? The heart spending. What blood, what prehistoric nudge on that handsome, brittle head.
I look in the mirror and all the chips I've eaten this month have accumulated, like schoolwork at the bottom of my tummy, my belly. A country I'm trying to love. My mouth is a lover devoted to you, my belly. My belly, the birds will string a song together with wind for you and your army of solids, militia of Greece. Americans love excess, but we also love jeans and refuse to make excess comfortable in them. I step into a fashionable prison, my middle managed and fastened into suffering, my gracious gut, dutiful dome, I will wear a house for you that you can live in. Promise walls that embrace your growing flesh and watch you reach toward everything possible.
The summer, everyone left to the moon, even those yet to be born, and the dead who can't vacation here but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The #1 song in America was In the Year 2525, because who has ever lived in the present when there is so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover won't need to forgive you and surely take everything off your hands without having to ask, without knowing your name. No matter the number of times you married or didn't, your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, and now to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth, when we all briefly left it, to look back on each other from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river. And whatever language is good for, a sign, a message left up there that reads, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind, then returned to continue the war."
I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet, when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye. And further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night.
All we ever talk of is light. Let there be light. There was light then, good light. But what I consider dawn is darker than all that. So many hours between the day receding and what we recognize as morning. The sun cresting like a wave that won't break over us, as if light were protective, as if no hearts were flayed, no bodies broken on a day like today. In any film, the sunrise tells us everything will be all right. Danger wouldn't dare show up now, dragging its shadow across the screen. We talk so much of light. Please let me speak on behalf of the good dark. Let us talk more of how dark the beginning of a day is.
We are not responsible for your lost or stolen relatives. We cannot guarantee your safety if you disobey our instructions. We do not endorse the causes or claims of people begging for handouts. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Your ticket does not guarantee that we will honor your reservations. In order to facilitate our procedures, please limit your carrying on. Before taking off, please extinguish all smoldering resentments. If you cannot understand English, you will be moved out of the way. In the event of a loss, you better look out for yourself. Your insurance was canceled because we can no longer handle your frightful claims. Our handlers lost your luggage and we are unable to find the key to your legal case. You were detained for interrogation because you fit the profile. You are not presumed to be innocent if the police have reason to suspect you're carrying a concealed wallet. It's not our fault you were born wearing a gang color. It is not our obligation to inform you of your rights. Step aside, please, while our officer inspects your bad attitude. You have no rights that we are bound to respect. Please remain calm, or we can't be held responsible for what happens to you.
My dead grandmother's young Japanese maple was uprooted, stolen last week, scattered leaves crushed under a stranger's foot. To recover from this loss, I spelled my name red in alphabet soup, mashed the letters together until they resembled my face, which is as my mother's, skin of ginger and violet tuber. On split lips I wear my papa's name, passed down from his father's fathers, a century of men called darling, cariño, by Spanish priests. I am still named after all of them, here where my brown face is my first language, where I carry a muddled tongue. Words I try to forget. Darling, cariño, native, empire, earth. In 1909, the Supreme Court gifted my forefathers their native title for being dark on their own dirt. To disprove myself native, I honey my mouth with prayers for untainted soil, because I was schooled across the ocean in a convent, nuns cracking on my knuckles with splintered rulers, and taking 5 centavos, my rusted allowance, for every word not spoken in English. A trickery, this germination of my non-existent accent. And I placed blushed begonias newly potted on my windowsill, sad replica of my childhood garden. Still I wept when my grandmother's tree returned, replanted messy by surreptitious hands. I tally my fortunes, count new freckles blossoming every year, stare at the mirror until I am my mother's mother's. Even if I can never tell which empire I mimic, as I am shuffled from one to the other.
My story's told in the misstyles, hesitance, and anonyms of crank calls, in the wire's electric elegy and glass expanded by the moth flicker of filament. I call a past that believes I'm dead. On the concrete here you can see where I stood in rust, lashed to the grid. On the corner of Pine and Idlewood, I've seen a virgin on her knees before the angel of a streetlight, and Moses stealing the times to build a fire. I've seen the city fly right through a memory and not break its neck, but the street still needs a shrine. So return my ringing heart, and no one to answer it, a traveler whose only destination is waywardness. Forgive us our apologies, the bees in our bells, the receiver's grease, days horizoned into words. If we stand monument to anything, it's that only some voices belong to men.
Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years, an angel throng, bewinged, bedight, in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they who come and go, at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings invisible woe. In that motley drama, oh be sure, it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased forevermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth into the self-same spot, and much of madness, and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see amid the mimic rout a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs in human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form the curtain of funeral pall comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy man, and its hero the conqueror worm.
When you caught one to keep, we took it home and I asked you to teach me. You showed me how to spike the brain. I thanked the fish, looked away, pressed down. We bled it, shaved away the scales, severed meat from bone.
I'm afraid of leaving my loved ones alone. Flying into an endless sunset the next day, a soft glow through the window, and every passenger is glazed smooth bronze. Every other seat empty, each face masked, some with simple fabric, others medical-grade filtration set beneath serious eyes. No one here talks much. Bodies pull away from the aisle each time a passenger scurries by. If a plane crashes in the middle of a pandemic, would the world make a sound? How do we grieve one loss among so many? Yesterday the breeze caught the water, making waves beneath the boat, and you swayed, staring out towards the setting sun, your skin slick with sweat, bronzed in the light, bouncing under the bridge where you waited for something to bite. I told you I didn't understand the need to maim something, to send it swimming back below with a taste of blood. You said, we're all violent. It's about finding the way out that does the least damage.
I tell you, hopeless grief is passionless, that only men incredulous of despair half-taught in anguish through the midnight air beat upward to God's throne in loud access of shrieking and reproach. Full desertness in souls as countries, lithe, silent, bare, under the blanching, vertical eye glare of the absolute heavens. Departed man, express grief for thy dead in silence like to death. Most like a monumental statue, set in everlasting watch and moveless woe, till itself crumble to the dust beneath. Touch it. The marble eyelids are not wet. If it could weep, it could arise and go.